I am Sharon Holmes. Welcome to the She Shines podcast, where we are empowering you to embrace every facet of who you are, helping you to develop a beautiful balance in life, and encouraging women everywhere to shine. You can follow the She Shines podcast on iTunes, Google Play Music, YouTube, Spotify, or wherever you tune in to your favorite podcasts. Get in on the conversation. Join the sisterhood at facebook.com/groups/She Shines podcast. So get ready. The She Shines podcast starts right now. Hey everybody, we are back another day, another show. I'm so glad to be talking to my sisters again. I missed y'all in the couple of weeks since we've talked last, and I am super duper excited about today's show. We're just going to have a little bit of fun because today we're going to just talk about what boss chicks do, right? So let me tell you a little bit of background about how this came about. So even before I taped my first episode of the podcast, I was sitting down brainstorming what I would want to talk about or what women might find useful. And so I already knew off the top before day one, before we ever taped, that this would be a topic that I would talk about because I grew up in church. And I will not say that it's a negative, but sometimes we have a tendency to believe that God is all you need and get God and everything else just falls in line. And unfortunately, Sharon was a little bit different. I love the Lord, like even since I was a kid. I had my first real experience with God at 10 years old. And I love the Lord, but I also wanted the other piece. I wanted the bachelor's degree. I never really wanted to be an entrepreneur, but somehow entrepreneurial things kind of always found me. But growing up in church, that kind of made me feel a little out of place sometimes because it almost felt like I was battling between being godly and then having dreams and aspirations. I did have spiritual aspirations. I wanted to be whatever it was that God wanted me to be, but then I had these natural aspirations as well. And since I was high school age, going into college, I always did entrepreneurial stuff, right? So I, again, didn't want to start my own business, but I didn't really want to work at McDonald's as a teenager. So I started Simply Sharon, and that was a desktop publishing company where I typed people's term papers and did resumes and all that type of stuff. So that I would be able to get paid without having to necessarily flip burgers. There's nothing wrong with flipping burgers, but it just wasn't the vision that I had for myself. So kind of found myself flowing in entrepreneurial veins, and then going forward, different types of businesses kind of always found me. And then ultimately I married my husband, who was bent on being an entrepreneur. He has a music school and he loves to teach music, which means that he needed somebody else who loved to do all the rest of the stuff. And so that's kind of my entrepreneurial journey. And I'm still a business manager for Anointed Hands School of Music, called today. Shameless plug. And so it's always kind of found me. And now I've come to the point where, and thankfully, over the last few years, to where I understand and I see it more and more, this emerging of ministry and marketplace. So you don't have to feel out of place for wanting God plus, we hear people say silver and gold. I'd rather have Jesus than silver and gold. That's true. But if I don't have to choose, I'll take Jesus, silver, and gold, right? And so here on the She Shines podcast, we always want to put our best foot forward. We want to do not only what pleases God, but we want to do what is in us. And I think that's one way that I kind of have learned how to honor him, is to use those gifts and talents that I've always had inside to make an impact. Why? Because it's not just about the natural impact that we have, but I think that we need to be in natural places of influence so that we can make kingdom moves. If we want to have kingdom impact, then we need to do that, and we have to have a sphere of influence, right? And so that's why I really embrace the whole entrepreneurship piece. And then in addition to that, we've really got to begin to think about the fact that it is great to punch a clock 9 to 5. And that's what I actually prefer to do. I don't prefer to do all of the overhead because entrepreneurship a lot of times becomes a 24/7 job. So I actually prefer a 9 to 5, but I see the value in entrepreneurship, being able to make your own way and being able to decide or put your foot in your future rather than allowing what happens to the economy to happen to you. And with that in mind, I figured, you know what? It is time to unleash the Making Boss Moves episode of this podcast. And so even back when I was brainstorming, again, before the first show ever came to be, before we ever taped, I already knew who I wanted to talk to. I had heard this lady several times speak about women in the marketplace and even women in ministry and how we should present ourselves and how we should show up. And I mean, in my mind, she's kind of like a brand master. She holds, let me formally introduce her. She holds a BA in political science with a minor in journalism. She is the author of several books and stage production. She's done several stage plays. Even I think I've seen a line of clothing that came out of that. She's a speaker. She's a mentor. She is the host of several women's conferences. She does business symposiums. This is a boss chick right here. She does also professional development webinars, and she's a branding and imaging consultant. She is the sole proprietor of Ash Enterprises. You probably know who I'm talking about already. She is the wife of Archbishop William Hudson and First Lady of the Powerhouse Chicago Church. This boss chick that's here with me today to talk about making boss moves is truly a boss in her own right. I am so excited to have Andria Hudson with me today. Hey, Andria.
Hello. Thank you so much for the wonderful introduction.
Wow. You know what? It was like, what do I choose? What do I include? And I couldn't include it all. Can you all believe that there is even more there than what I stated? I mean, this lady is on the move, truly.
Oh, thank you. To God be all the glory.
Now, has it always been this way for you? How did you kind of come into this journey of coming into your own and dealing with the topics that you deal with?
Wow. Well, I think that my life has been a journey for a lot of individuals that don't know my background. I am a former PK. I'm a pastor's kid. And
congratulations or condolences.
So, actually, it was a wonderful, wonderful life.
Awesome.
My parents are the epitome of the balance between ministry and marketplace. So in addition to leading a flock, which they have been pastoring now well over 35 years,
wow.
Still loving it, still doing it. But they were also entrepreneurs. They have owned several businesses. And so as a child, we saw that balance between ministry and marketplace. And that was a seed that was placed inside of us as their children. I'm the oldest of 7 children.
Wonderful.
So when you talk about making boss moves, I guess I've been a boss since the womb.
We won't call it bossy. We'll say she was a boss, not bossy.
But it has been an amazing journey. Definitely a journey that I've learned a lot about myself. When you talk about entrepreneurship, you learn things about yourself, the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Wow.
And then you also learn, too, what type of foundation you have. Because I tell individuals all the time, especially women that are aspiring to be business owners, this is not for the faint at heart.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes.
It is not. You're going to get a lot of no's. You're going to do a lot of things by trial and error, and you can't be afraid to, I don't like to use the word fail, but you can't be afraid to be challenged. You cannot be afraid, that some things just may not work. But you have to have an inner resolve and an inner resilience. Say, tomorrow's going to be a new day, and I'm not going to give up. I'm going to stay the course, and this is my brand. This is my idea. This is my passion, and I'm going to do whatever it takes to make it and succeed.
So can you just kind of give me A little bit of a description of what that might look like. So here I am, I'm Sharon, and I have this wonderful idea. I want to do this as a business. What would be your advice to me just starting out to hash out whether or not this is a path that I want to take? You said it's not for the faint of heart. So how do I determine whether this is a path that would be right for me?
Absolutely. Usually when I talk to individuals that are seeking advice, even mentorship regarding entrepreneurship, I always ask them the question. Would you do this for free?
That's deep. That's deep.
Because now that lets me know if you're really serious or not. And the reason why I ask that question is because in the beginning stages of entrepreneurship, you're not going to make a lot of money.
Absolutely. That's true.
In fact, you're going to spend more money
than you make.
You're not going to see profit all the time. And so if you are gunning for this, because you no longer want to answer to anyone, you no longer want to submit. You just you feel that it's glamorous because everybody else is doing it. You're going to quickly see that this may not be the journey for you. So whatever idea that you have, whatever, passion that you have, entrepreneurship is about solving a problem in the marketplace. So I want to know from you, number one, would you do it for free? And then number two, is it a side hustle? There's a difference between having a business and a side hustle. Wow. All side hustles are not meant to be businesses.
You know what? I need to raise an offering right now. This woman is preaching. There is a difference between a business and a side hustle.
There is. And I'm not against side hustles. I believe in multiple streams of income. I believe in 2019, everyone should have at least 5 to 7 multiple streams of income. We live in a world where everything is consistently changing. Fortune 500 companies that have made multi-millions are closing down every single day. Things are changing around us. I never thought, Sharon, that I would see the day where, malls would be completely empty.
Yes.
You see nothing but space. And it kind of grieves me, but it also lets me know that we are in a day and age where things are consistently changing. And life as we know it is no longer. It's no longer the way that we thought it was going to be. So when you have these big box stores that are completely shutting down, and I can name so many offhand, but completely shutting down stores that we knew about when we were children.
Yes.
You can no longer go to anymore. That's a good indicator that, number one, it is the time for the small business owner to rise up,
yes,
and take your place. And then number two, that you need to find a solution to a problem that's in the marketplace. No longer is the power to the big box, but now the power is shifting. So you need to decide, what am I good at? What am I passionate about? Would I do it for free? Am I willing to go the extra mile with it? Am I willing to spend hours? Because being an entrepreneur, as you stated before, it's not like a 9-to-5.
Not at
You're
all.
constantly working. My mind is always on 10.
Yes.
And my husband, he loves to tease me because he always tells me, your mind is always working. And I can't help it. I mean, it's kind of always been there because I'm a creative. So I love to write. I love to, as you stated, I do stage productions. I've been doing these stage productions and writing stage plays for over 25 years now. So my mind is always a script. My mind is always a movie. And I used to think something was wrong with me growing up, but then I realized that that's just that creative gene in me that is always on. When I shifted into entrepreneurship after working in corporate America. I was working in corporate America since I was 15 years old. I had my first job when I was 15.
Wow. I cannot even imagine.
15 years old, sophomore in high school. I worked for Kinko's, and I loved it. I loved it. It was my first job, and I was working with adults. I was working with the public, but it gave me a taste of customer service. It gave me a taste of personal relationships. I mean, it just gave me a taste to the corporate world. And ever since then, I've been working. So I worked in the corporate world prior to starting my own business for many years. I did, I was a paralegal for many years, working in law firms. I also worked in real estate and relocation. So when it was time for me to shift into entrepreneurship, which I always knew that I wanted to do, I realized that what I thought was glamorous wasn't really glamorous.
Didn't quite add up the way you expected it to.
No, it did not. But because I always knew that it was a part of my destiny, I have stayed the course. And 5-6 years later, I am finally seeing the benefits. People are looking, they see you in your latter, but they don't know about the former. And they don't know that it takes time.
Yes.
It takes time to build a successful brand.
Because this is what we post on Facebook. We talked about this in the last episode, Note to Self. You see all of the selfies on Facebook and everybody's making boss moves and everybody's a boss chick, but you don't see the years that business struggled before it hit the big break or before it hit the point. And it's not always this glamorous story, because so many businesses actually don't end up surviving or thriving. And so we're already having to work against some very daunting odds. So we've got to be able to know within ourselves that we're ready to take this journey and that we're ready to stay the course. But one thing that always sticks out in my mind is that someone told me this many years ago, and I think it'll stay with me until I die. They said, when I get ready to close my eyes at the end of my life, having lived a long and prosperous life as I know I will, I would not like to have regrets of what I should have attempted. So let me attempt it and find out that's not the path for me. I didn't fail. It's just not the path for me, but I would rather attempt it. So how do we get our courage up? Knowing that odds are stacked against us in some ways, how do we get our courage up to actually, take that step?
I always base things, of course, according to the Word of God and according to the leading of God. And I tell individuals that if God has given you an idea, whatever the idea may be, His purpose and His plan is going to always be fulfilled, even if it's without you. So if He has given it to you, it would behoove you to get over your fear, begin to believe in your idea and in what He's given you, believe in the power that He's placed in you, and just do it. If you keep second guessing yourself, self-doubting, you're not going to do it. And what's going to happen, which has happened to me before, Sharon, and I know that it's probably happened to our listeners, that we will have this great idea. I mean, just this idea from the throne of heaven. And it's a money-making idea as well. And we will begin to look at the lack of resources that we don't have to get it accomplished. And we'll say things like, well, maybe it's not time, or maybe I'm not the one that should do it. And then a little later on, we'll see that idea manifest through somebody else. And there have been times where I have kicked myself. Literally.
Why?
And I said, oh my goodness, I had that idea. And the Holy Spirit revealed to me, and He said, I'm going to fulfill my plan in the earth with or without you.
That's a kick in the pants.
We're surrounded by multi-million, billion-dollar ideas every single day, all around us. The difference between us and those that have done it is that they actually did it.
You know what? I need to take a poll right here. I need you who are listening to drop a comment. Tell us today if that has ever happened to you, if you've experienced that. Let us know if you had an idea that you knew was a great idea, but because you didn't act on it, someone else beat you to market with it. And we won't, there's no shade here. So we will not put shade on the one who beat us to market, right? We are ladies of integrity, right? But let me know if it's happened to you. I know it's happened to me before. And it seems like when you see it, it's like, my gosh, it was right there. I had it. And even in how we deal with things today, I was having this conversation actually with a lady last Sunday. Even the trajectory of how social media has risen and has taken the place of a lot of other processes that we used to do. I had an idea many years ago that this is the direction you need to go in. It needs to be in media and it needs to be on the web. And I thought, I had this whole imposter syndrome thing going. People they'll think, who does she think she is and all of that. And I talked myself out of it. And I was looking at social media and I go, if I had started then, I would be a leader in that industry right now. And so I know it's happened to me. So if it's happened to you, drop that comment. Let us know if that's happened to you, because guess what? Today is the last day that will ever happen again. I am touching and agreeing with you. Today is the day that we rise and we take our places as the bosses that we're supposed to be. So I've got to dive into this whole idea of branding, because I know that that's very important in business. So would you just kind of explain to us what branding is and how we do that?
Branding is your unique spin on your business. So it's your unique quality that sets you apart from everyone else. The reason why I said it's your unique quality is that oftentimes the ideas that we have and the things that we aspire to do in business, they are some of the things that may already be present in the marketplace. But what's going to separate your business from the next person's, and you may have the same product, you may even have the same business or same type of industry that you're doing business in. What's going to separate you from the next competitor is your branding. So let's have an example. Burgers. Mm-hmm. There's so many different type of burgers out here.
Burger King, McDonald's, Five Guys, Fat Burger.
I mean, the list goes on and on and on. What separates each of those is their unique branding. And the reason why Mickey D's is still here to this day, and I've watched them over the years, especially now with an entrepreneurial eye, is that they always take the time to rebrand themselves. Same Golden Arch, but the commercials are different. They're exciting. They're fresher. The campaigns, I love what they do. They are progressive with the times.
Absolutely.
And so if you have the same product, you have to be more intentional with your branding so that it does not get lost in the shuffle, that it does not just become it's just another clothing store. Well, what is your branding technique that's going to separate you from the next person? Oh, it's just another soul food restaurant or another shoe company or another real estate investment company. How are you going to really make your mark in that industry where you do not get lost in the shuffle? And that's where branding comes into place.
And I think it should be an extension of yourself.
You are your brand. I tell people all the time, you are your brand. Before you pitch to someone about your product, you are already representing your brand before you say anything about your business. So this is why it's very important as entrepreneurs, especially female entrepreneurs, that we always represent our brand well, because we are one with our brand. We have to be careful about being so vocal on social media. I'm very leery about individuals that always are talking negatively on social media. You know, they're just pessimists. They always have something negative to say about something or someone, but then you want to post something about your business or post something about your church or post something about your ministry. I'm a little leery right there because already you're showing me your character just by what you say. And again, you are your brand. When I'm out and about, even if I'm going to the grocery store, I may not have a full face of makeup on every time, but I'm presentable because I am my brand. I am Ash Enterprises. And whatever your brand is, whatever your business is, you are one with that business. And so you should carry yourself that way.
Absolutely. And especially if you have a service-based business.
Oh, yes.
Product-based businesses, that's its own animal. But especially if you have a service-based business, that business needs to look like you. In a previous podcast, I talked about what it is that we are meant to deposit in the earth. And nobody can do that quite like you. And I love that you mentioned burger joints because I always explain it like this. We can use the same recipe, you and I, to make the same dish from the same recipe, and it will taste differently because we are different. And so my idea of a pinch of salt may be different than your idea of a pinch of salt. And so being able to embrace fully who we are and then being able to allow that to translate into how we want to present ourselves and what we want to present in business.
Absolutely. And then, you know, it all goes back to as well, when we look at the vendors and the companies and the products that we ourselves individually support on a day-to-day basis, why is it that we keep going back to those individuals? Branding,
That's
customer service,
That's absolutely
how they treat you. I love the way Chick-fil-A treats their customers. And what I love about it is their branding is across the board. So no matter which location I go to, even if I'm out of town and I decide to go to a Chick-fil-A, I'm going to get the same customer service.
same service.
I'm going to get, hello, welcome to Chick-fil-A. How may we take your order? I'm going to get that that wonderful hospitality, that customer service whenever I go into a Cold Stone. When I walk in, no matter what location, hello, welcome to Cold Stone. It's across the board. These are things that small business owners have to pay attention to because that's what's going to separate us from the next person. How do we treat our customers? How do we treat our clients? What is our aura? What is our energy about? People are taking note of that. And that's what's going to keep your business thriving, having that wonderful touch. And that's where branding comes into part.
Absolutely. And I think I hear coming through consistency.
Oh, absolutely.
Consistency.
Absolutely.
Our customers have to be able to depend on us, whether we have a product-based business or a service-based business. They have to be able to depend on us that we're going to do what we said we're going to do, that we're going to give them the experience that they came to us looking for.
Absolutely. And this is why you must have the right team.
How do I assemble a team that's going to have my heart? Look, we are like down to like 2 minutes of this show. Isn't it amazing how time flies? So I'm going to give you 2 minutes to just fly on how we assemble a team.
Okay, so this is what I've learned, and this is what I'm still learning when you have the right team supporting you. These are the type of individuals you need to have on your team. You always need to have someone that's smarter than you.
Love it.
You need someone with more experience than you. You also need a young thinker. So I have been very intentional in keeping millennials around me. Now, I'm not old. Okay.
No, you are not.
I'm not.
No, you are not. You look good, girl.
Age is nothing. Age is nothing but a number. But I have been very intentional in keeping college students around me, them being a part of the Ash Enterprises team. I need to know how you think.
Yes.
I need to know what's the missing link that I don't have in order to reach a younger generation. If you only cater to just your age group, you are missing the an entire generation for your brand. So I have individuals that are more educated than me on my team. I have individuals that have more experience than me on my team. I'm not intimidated. I'm very secure in who I am. Number one, it's my brand.
Absolutely.
At the end of the day, it's my brand. But when you have those individuals that are smarter than you, maybe more talented than you have now a well-rounded brand. You're able to see things that I may not see or I may miss. When you have young, fresh minds on your team, and I love the way that the millennial generation and even the post-millennial generation think. You know, it doesn't take them long to catch on. They see it and they catch on very, very quickly. And so it may take us maybe a day or so to process.
Right.
For them, 15, 20 minutes. No.
Instant.
Instant. No, we're going to keep you on the team. And then you need individuals that understand your vision, won't compete with your vision, but will promote your vision. And it takes time to sift those individuals out. I've done it through trial and error. I've had people supporting me that at first I really thought that they were for me, and then realized that they only wanted to be a part of my team so they can get all of my secrets, get all of what I do, and then try to replicate it. It comes with the platform. It comes with the position. It bothered me at first, but then my husband, whom I love so much, had to share with me. And he said, listen, you cannot let this be a downfall to your business. It is what it is. People are going to connect to you because you're like a magnet. Your business is like a magnet. So you're going to attract a lot of individuals. And some may only want to come where they just want to be connected to get all your secrets. It is what it is. You got to keep it moving. Let them get what they want to get, and you get what you need to get from them, and keep it moving.
Absolutely. And being able to accept that, because at the end of the day, as you said before, it is your brand. And no matter how closely someone replicates you, they'll only be a great imposter. You know, they'll
and
never
it won't
be able
last.
to be the real thing.
And it won't last. When individuals try to replicate everything, they're missing their own originality. And so when you keep trying to replicate and mimic somebody, that is very short-term and short-lived. Give them a year, you won't see their business again.
Absolutely, because again, it goes back to that passion key.
Yes.
If you do it for free and they're trying to work off of your passion.
Absolutely.
Look, I know already. I don't even have to look at the clock. I know I'm over time because this is so good. So here is what I want to do. I want to keep you here.
Okay.
I'm going to hold you hostage for a few more minutes.
No problem.
And we are going to talk some more because I have so much more to hit, not only about branding, but about the spirit of excellence that we should use in branding ourselves. I want to talk about fear as we move into new opportunities and how female entrepreneurs can handle themselves without dishonoring their spouse as they move into their rightful place as a boss. So we want to talk about all of that. So I am going to sign off of the show right now. And if you want to hear what we talk about next, you have got to come back and find us on social media. I will put all of the information in the description. Just meet us in our Facebook group. Join up with the group. We got a lot of stuff to talk about, and we want to hear what you have to say as well. So we want to thank, oh my gosh, I am so honored and thankful to have had you here with me today, Andria Hudson. Thank you so much for being a part of our podcast, and we will definitely be back with more bonus content for you online. Until next time, I am Sharon Holmes saying don't be afraid to go, glow, and make some boss moves of your own, girl. You have been listening to the She Shines podcast, where we are empowering you to embrace every facet of who you are. helping you to develop a beautiful balance in life and encouraging women everywhere to shine. If you are a woman who shines and you want to see someone else shine too, join the sisterhood at facebook.com/groups/She Shines Podcast, and you can share the shine. To get instant updates on our podcast, subscribe on iTunes, Google Play Music, YouTube, or Spotify. I'm your host, Sharon Holmes. Until next time, shine on.